ASEAN Chair the Philippines highlighting that the bloc must uphold long-standing principles to maintain peace and stability. Manila hosting its first major ministerial meeting in Cebu, where top diplomats discuss Southeast Asia's most pressing issues. The Philippines says it's hopeful it can start monthly face-to-face talks with China to speed up progress on a code of conduct on the South China Sea. Foreign Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro also touching on Myanmar, saying that while the bloc does not recognize results from its recent elections, what happens next depends entirely on the military government. Leong Wai Kit with this report.
It's billed as a retreat, so of course the mood is friendly and candid. But the issues facing the bloc are grim.
Across our region, we continue to see tensions at sea, protracted internal conflicts, and unresolved border and humanitarian concerns. At the same time, developments beyond Southeast Asia, including unilateral actions that carry cross-regional implications, continue to affect regional stability and erode multilateral institutions and the rules-based international order.
She didn't mention specific countries, but early this year, US troops carried out an attack on Venezuela and arrested its president Nicolás Maduro over narco-terrorism charges. One critical concern closer to home is tensions on the disputed South China Sea. Clashes on the maritime front and diplomatic spats between China and the Philippines have been ongoing. The aim is to water down these tensions. ASEAN is hopeful that China will agree to monthly face-to-face talks in a bid to speed up negotiations on a code of conduct. Domestically, the bloc is doing what it can to make progress.
One country, one ASEAN member state came up with a paper on one of the milestones. And then there were other member states who are now coming up with papers on the milestone issues. We, the Philippines, well, just to be open about it, one of the issues is on the definition of self-restraint.
Myanmar is yet another hot topic for the bloc. ASEAN insists that the military roll out an agreed peace plan known as the 5-point consensus. But post-elections, dynamics may shift such that it will be back to business with Myanmar. I asked the Foreign Secretary how ASEAN can strike that balance.
Bilaterally, certain members or ASEAN member states can conduct some discussions with Myanmar. However, as a collective unit, as ASEAN, this is something that has to be. But there should be consensus in making certain decisions.
Secretary Lazaro has stressed that how ASEAN moves on after Myanmar forms parliament depends entirely on the country's military leaders. And among the members who will debate on this is Timor-Leste. The retreat is Dili's first official ASEAN meeting since joining the bloc last year. It'll be interesting to see the dynamics between Myanmar and Timor-Leste moving forward. Before Timor-Leste became an ASEAN member, it was one of the strongest critiques of the Myanmar junta. But that tone simmered down as Timor-Leste finalized its bid to join ASEAN. Most recently, though, the Myanmar army again criticized Timor-Leste for interfering in its domestic affairs. That's after Dili met with a Myanmar resistance group. But analysts say Timor-Leste won't rock the boat and go against the interests of ASEAN.
Timor-Leste is learning a lesson in accommodating regional interests ahead of national interests. I think it's a good lesson for Timor, and it will do very well. No doubt about it.
ASEAN's top diplomats will meet again later this year before culminating in the meetings of the bloc's top leaders. Leong Wai Kit, CNA, Cebu.